Hey team, round 17 done and dusted. The mighty Warriors absolutely smashed the Dragons over there in Wollongong. Let's take a look how it played out. Welcome back into the Warriorholic. How good spending the weekend on the back of a Friday win from the Warriors. You just can't beat it. Absolutely stoked. So let's take a quick look how it played out. Kind of interesting when you go through some of the stats that it looked a lot more even than the score reflected, but I guess that's just a reflection of the fact that we were able to really convert on the opportunities we were given and the Dragons weren't able to. So 48-18 to the Warriors. Convincing. You know, that's what you want to see. Keep pushing out that for and against, because I think when it comes down to it, the difference between either, you know, making the 8 or making the 4 will definitely come down to having a really positive for and against there. So good to see us put another gap between some of the opposition there on that stat. So time in possession 55% versus 45. You know, that didn't really reflect the overall result there. You know, time in possession there 22 minutes versus 27 minutes. Completion rate both around the 70% there. Tackle efficiency both around the high 80s there. So tackles made, they made around 50 more tackles than us. That's a pretty telling stat there. Missed tackles 32 to 27. Again, that doesn't really reflect a 20 or 30 point drubbing. Errors, 12 errors from us again is not really what we're looking for. I think against some of the top 4 type contending sides, that's way too many. We need to get that down into the mid to low single figures. Other teams will really punish us on that stat. Penalties conceded, 2 versus 4. I don't think we gave away too many that we could kind of argue with. Ruck infringements, 3 against us, 1 against them. I find that kind of hard to believe, but still, it's not too bad. We've seen in some weeks that we've got up to around the 6 or so with the ruck infringements. But the sin bin, that it didn't really hurt us. We scored 1 try for letting in 1 try, so we kind of cancelled that out. We have defended really well with 12 players this year. I think we've scored something like 5 tries during the time that we've had 12 players on the field. But Marata, I love the aggression. I love the real impact he's playing with at the moment. But he's got to drop those tackles down by a couple of inches because we can't afford to keep him, getting sent off for those 10 minutes. Particularly in the back quarter of the season here, and especially if we do make the finals. All runs there, 200 more, 200 runs versus 162. That's a big reflection of the outcome, along with the all run meters running for 500 more meters than them. So post contact meters, 100 meters more than them. Line breaks 10 to 3. That's where you start to see the big difference between the two performances. Tackle breaks not dissimilar there, 27 versus 32. Average distance per set, another 11 meters over the top of them. That makes a big difference over 80 minutes. Kick defusal, both teams not overly great there. 23% for them and 50 for us. But you can see the difference. It's quite interesting looking at the kicking meters right down this week at 395 from SJ, when some weeks he's up around the 750 mark. Clearly showed that we had good field position, and 9 bombs put up versus 4 for them means that we're up in their in their quarter a lot more than we have been in a lot of other games. So overall, I think as far as the two teams went, we clearly saw that they have some good individual players. Sloan was able to carve us up a couple of times, and I think if they'd been able to use him better, we could have been in a bit more trouble. But in the end, I just think they were, they were pretty disjointed. Once Sully went off, he's one of their top 3 attacking weapons. They just really struggled. For me, I can't imagine trying to play at that level when your captain's trying to pay to get out of your team. So, while Ben Hunt didn't have a terrible game, he didn't exactly step up and show, hey guys, I'm sorry. So, all in all, I don't think they were in it, so we shouldn't get too excited. But we did what we could do. You can only play what's in front of you, and I think we dominated. We got a little bit loose there in the first half. We got a lot more clinical towards, into the second half there. Yet again, we finished the game really, really solidly. We just no point in the game did we look fatigued, which is another great sign that we're making some outstanding progressions there. Our line defense really, really strong. A couple of tries there we probably wouldn't have let in if the game was closer. It's kind of hard to stay 100% focused when you are that far ahead. But I really, really liked a lot of the scrambling that we saw, the urgency to recover loose ball and so forth. And I'll mention that when I get into the individual player ratings. But overall, what more could you want? Really fun and exciting watch that we didn't have to worry about it being sort of a tight game that we had to pull away from in the last quarter, which we're good at, but I don't really like. So let's have a look at the player ratings here. So we've got first up Charnze Nicoll-Klokstep. 9 out of 10 for me. There's not much more he could have done. Almost 200 run meters here, 198, 48 post contact meters, 1 line break, 3 line break assists, 2 try assists, and 7 tackle breaks. Mate, the guy's just a machine. And what I've really liked from him over the past couple of weeks is that he's really become a lot more involved in our attack. He's shown his distribution skills, his passing skills. That's really added sort of a new dimension to our attacking play, particularly going to the right. We knew that was going to be a weakness, the left-hand side for St George going into this game, but I think naturally he's coming in there. But it would be nice to see him sort of chime in a little bit more on the other side of the field and try and link up with Metcalf. But overall, it's pretty hard to take even a point away from him with the effort that he put in, as he does every week. So outstanding from Charnze here. Dallin Watene-Zelezniak. Mate, 9 out of 10 for me for him as well. 4 tries. Shit, when was the last time we saw that from the Warriors? I think they said it was something like 2006. Just continuing to step up his game every week. Probably without bias, the leading form winger in the comp at the moment. And that's going back, what is it, about 9 rounds now, where we were kind of questioning whether he'd get back in over Kossi, because Kossi was playing so well. So, he started a bit rough there for the first couple of games, but every week after that he's just stepped up and stepped up. So, 227 metres. Outstanding there. 34 post-contact metres, 1 line break assist, 2 tackle breaks, and 4 tries. What more could you want from a winger? His ability to put those balls down in the corner there in contact, second to none. So, really proud of his effort, and as a result, he ended up being the Warriors player of the round this week. So, well done to Dallin. Montoya, I've given him a 7 out of 10. I think overall he played really, really well, but the 4 errors that he had are just something he really needs to tidy up a little bit there. He had a couple of missed tackles as well. 129 metres, not his biggest running game that we've seen. 27 post-contact metres, 2 line breaks, 4 tackle breaks, and a try. But what epitomised him for me was that hit he put on Ravalawa. Get it right? Not many guys would have put him over the sideline there, got him to dislodge the ball with such a late start there, having drift off the centre. So that was an epitome to me of what our guys are trying to do and the effort they're prepared to put in. So while he made a couple of errors, the effort was there for 80 minutes for him again. So outstanding from my boy. Rocco Berry, I've given him a 7.5. He made a couple of slight defensive misreads there, kind of coming up out of the line and missing the tackle. But, interesting, both of our centres running meters were down a bit, but both of our edge back rowers are really, really up. So it may be a reflection on what we're doing with them there. But only the 72 metres and 18 post contact, but 2 line break assists, 2 try assists, 4 tackle breaks, and a try himself. What I've really noticed, a lot of people bag Rocco, but for me, if you look at his effort areas and his ability to be in the right place at the right time to defuse those bouncing balls, if you watch the try that he scores, he comes from like 10 or 15 metres inside Dallin to get around the outside of it and be in the perfect position to take that pass to score the try. For me, he's just got that natural instinct of knowing where to be. There's just something about that guy that I think in another couple of years, if he's given the chance, he's going to be an absolutely top-class centre. I don't think you see those same sort of little effort areas from Pompey. That's the difference for me. Is you've got a big guy who's got a little bit of footwork with it. We've got this guy in Berry. Once he puts on a few more kgs, he's got the wheels, and he's just got that sense of where to be and what to do. Perfect positioning to put Dallin away for his tries there. So I really, really like him, and looking forward to him to continue to develop. Pompey, I've given a 6.5. He didn't have the worst game. 76 metres, 21 post contact, 2 line break assists, no try assists, 2 tackle breaks. I just don't feel like he makes the same amount of effort as we're seeing from a lot of the other guys. I feel like he's got another 2 gears in him, both on attack and defence. and he hasn't really stepped up into those, you know, higher gears in the past sort of 3 weeks or so. You know, is he starting to show some signs of fatigue and playing every game this season? I'm not sure, but, you know, it'd be tough to lose his experience, but I'd be kind of excited to see Leotoa and Berry both get a game together with the energy and the passion and the speed that both of those guys bring. Remains to see whether Webby would take that risk next week if Ali's back from his hamstring tweak. But I'm really curious, you know, if we can see that combination at some point this year, maybe against one of the lower level teams. Luke Metcalf, you know, he's continuing to improve and get himself more involved. I love the lightning speed that he offers to give that point of difference. I love how he pops up on the wing from time to time. You know, he's got a great pass, even though he put through that bounce pass to Montoya, which probably wasn't intentional, but worked out ideal. I feel like there's a little bit, you know, he's probably got 3 or 4 gears still to come out of him. So we're still not seeing the absolute best, hence I've given him a 7.5 because I think there's still a lot of room for movement and potential there. But yeah, he ran for 107 metres, which is pretty good for a half there. 1 line break assist, 1 try assist and 4 tackle breaks. He's definitely not afraid to throw his body in front of the big boys. You know, he's not the best tackler just yet, but I think, you know, the more sort of confidence and time he gets in there, he fills out a little bit more, he'll continue to do that. I'm really curious to see what happens once Tamati Martin comes back into the fold. My first instinct is that Webby goes back to the experience. He stated on a couple of occasions, you know, the incumbents get the first shot. So we probably won't see Tamati for another week or two. I'm not sure if he'll even be ready to play against, you know, play Cup this weekend. So he won't be there against South, but it may be the week after. But I'm really curious to see which way Webby goes. I think Metcalf will benefit from these few weeks in a row here in first grade. Perhaps go back into Cup now to sort of really get into a position where he can start to dominate a little bit easier to build that confidence even further. But it's great to know he's a guy who can handle the big games like we saw him against Canberra over there in the big occasion, that if we do need to bring him in for the finals later in the year, he won't be overawed. So solid effort from him there. SJ, I've given him an 8.5 purely based on a couple of slightly non-SJ-like kicks in play and a few missed goals, which probably cost us did cost us from getting up into the 50s, if I'm being a real pedantic prick. But overall, geez, he was outstanding yet again. Only kicking, like I said, for the 360 metres because he didn't need to kick out of his own, you know, half too deep in his own half too often. Just a 6 out of 9 from the kicks. There are a couple there that hit the post, so, you know, pretty rough on him. But 2 try assists, 1 line break, 1 try himself. Just continuing to build his confidence. We're getting those guys in motion so that when he does run, he's got space there. He's got a few other options now that it's not all about him as the playmaker. As I said, Chance is coming into the line there. We've got Metcalf who's, you know, distracting the defence. We've got a bit of variety on who's taking the ball at first receiver. So it's just showing that he's got a lot more time and choice and options to do what he needs to do. So for me at the moment, he's the form half in the comp. And will be a very, very close contender to get up there for the overall Dally M if we keep winning. But I'd say he'll go close to definitely winning the halfback of the year. Adam Fanua-Blake. Initially, when I just did it on instinct, he didn't actually get my player of the round. But when I went back and really watched the game again and looked at the stats, I find it hard to fault anything from not giving him, you know, how could I not even give him 10 out of 10? I just guess that, you know, there's that 0.5% there where he actually has the absolute dream game at some point. But 59 minutes for 193 metres, 60 post-contact metres, 31 tackles made at 96.88%, 2 tackle breaks. But more than those key figures as a prop, what I've really noticed is if we go back to the Broncos game, I was complaining about Tohu getting too much ball at first receiver there and everything going through his hands. So in that game, Tohu had 21 passes where he'd been the first receiver predominantly. Adam Fanua-Blake had 4. In the weekend, he had 8, and Tohu only had 13. And if you notice in a lot of our tries, Tohu didn't touch the ball. The hooker, Egan, was going straight to Adam Fanua-Blake, either the first receiver or is getting at second receiver at times. When we're up into our attack or the the attacking zone. So I think people are sort of in two minds. Is Adam going to run it himself? But he's got that beautiful little pop pass that he was creating, that just extra little bit of space and indecision. Then getting to SJ, and by the time SJ got the ball, the line was really disjointed. So I think it's interesting we're starting to use him as a distributor, taking some of that pressure off Tohu as well. So yet another aspect of his game that puts him right up there with Payne Haas as the top prop in the competition at the moment. Be nice one day if we could get a guy close to his own level as a partner there. You know, who knows if that will be one of our targets in the off-season, but, you know, you can't fault anything about what our AFB's done all season. Absolutely stoked for me. Close to our best player all year. Bunty, I've given a 7 out of 10. You know, 27 minutes, a little bit more than last week. Only 46 metres, 12 post-contact metres, but 22 tackles at 100%. That's where those guys who get up him about the lack of you know, impact on offence. His defence, he's doing a lot of that grunt work in the first 20 there, and involved in almost every tackle in the middle if he's not the main tackler at 100% efficiency. So that's something that any team would want. And this, you know, that's what you'll be looking for in a Jake Travojevic kind of prop in State of Origin. They put him in there. It's just his ability to hit and not miss in those first 20 minutes and take the intensity out of the game for your bench prop. So I'm not going to keep bagging Bunty. I think that's what I see as his key value to the team, and he does that week in and week out. He came on and continued to do it a little bit in the back half of the game as well to give out in that break. So well done from Bunty again. So Egan, a solid performance with him without being outstanding. You know, he had that little bit of a head knock that had me worried for a minute there, and as a result, he got the 68 minutes. Only ran for 41 metres this time, so didn't quite run as as often as we've seen it in the past. But maybe that's a reflection that he didn't need to. That we had the structures out wide, then he was just distributing and letting the outside backs, or the outside receivers, create the play rather than him having to do it. 32 tackles at 91%, or 92%. You can't complain at that. And if that's one of his quieter games, I'll take that every time. So hopefully he has a really big one up against Cookie next week. Jackson Ford, that's a game of the season from him for me. Best game for the club. I'm giving him a 9 out of 10. I don't think there's much more he could have done. He didn't have any errors this week. Played 68 minutes for 113 metres. That's one of his biggest running metre games. 37 post-contact metres, 37 tackles at 94%. So he's really got his tackle efficiency up there. Some weeks he's been down around the high 60s. And he got the try there based on pure effort. You know, the intensity that he showed compared to the opposition, you know, like I said, coming into it, he'd missed 51 tackles, I think it was, and Bird had made about 61 tackle breaks. So I thought he was going to be a real handful, but Ford just dominated him. And you often see that when a guy, like we saw it from Chance last week, you go back to their old club, and I'm just glad he stood up for it. You know, I'll get on to Marata at a moment, but I think that combination has just really stepped up. They're both making more meters, they're making more runs, having a bigger impact. So best game for me. Well done, young Jackson. Rightio, Marata. I've given him a 7.5, and I could have given him a 9 if he hadn't got sent off again. I don't mind the aggression. I think, we want that intimidation factor that guys are a bit worried about how he's going to whack them. But we can't afford to have him keep getting 10 in the bin, even though we're able to defend it quite well. Particularly now, that he's got the 3-week suspension going into the back quarter. He's just got to drop that tackle down a little bit and make sure he stays on the field. But looking at his stats, 64 minutes, 148 metres, running metres, 48 post-contact, at 24 tackles, 96% tackle efficiency, 14 hit-ups. So I think this is a reflection of how we've really changed the way we're using both Ford and Marata. Both of those guys, like I said, were down around the 70-metre mark for their running metres in the first sort of half of the season. Over the past 3 or 4 weeks, we've just really seen a step up in involvement. And as a result, we're seeing a lot harder running from them. We're putting the defence in a lot more sort of two minds. They're getting involved in around the 3rd or 4th tackle, heading off our own line, rather than sort of just getting the ball going through their hands all the time. So I think that's a great sign, and he's just running with a level of intensity we haven't seen all year over the past couple of weeks. So he's just got to get that tackle right so he can stay on the field, because I think him and Ford are just a real weapon for us to have coming into the back of the season. What do you got there? Tohu, 9 out of 10, man. What a workhorse. 68 minutes, 161 metres, 62 post-contact metres, 27 tackles at 90% and 16 hit-ups. Like I said, it's interesting to see that, you know, he's not getting that ball in his hands quite as often. And all of the talk around New South Wales recently, talking about how they're going through Isaiah Yo's hands too much, and it slows down the whole play of the ball and takes away time from their outside backs and the playmakers. I think we've done the same thing with Tohu, but we've identified that. We're getting out to our playmakers quicker, giving him a little bit less pressure there to create. And as a result, I think he's just, you know, he's playing with a lot more control. He's just, you know, he's not burning himself out trying to be involved in every play. You know, we saw him get a clip to the knee there that was a little bit of a worry, but he just seemed to run it out. But, you know, it's good to see him only playing 68 minutes instead of 80. But overall, what more could you ask for a guy? You know, captain leading from the front. He's got a really good ability now to sort of get in the ref's face in a polite, calm way to try and question them, to make sure that we do get some of those decisions right. Looking at the bench here, Bailey Sirinen, again, another solid 32 minutes off there. I had no qualms once he came on for Egan when he went off there, which is a really positive shift for me. I was a guy wanting Lussick on the bench here as that backup hooker, but now with what Sirinen can offer, I'm more than happy with him as hooker cover, but his ability to cover so many other positions. We've seen him really tighten his defence up. He's got a much crisper pass now. He just looks like he's made to be out there, whereas for the first half of the season, I just didn't have the confidence that he was there to contribute at the same level as a lot of the other players. I'm not saying it was a lack of effort, it was just a lack of execution, but you know, right now, I'm wondering, you know, I've gone from being happy to him, you know, rumoured to be going to St George next year, to being quite happy if we actually keep the guy, because he's able to deliver in these big games in so many different ways. So I've given him a 7 out of 10, just purely because he only played for, you know, 30-odd minutes. Josh Curran only got the 25 minutes, which is the only reason I've given him a 6. I think, you know, everything he did was great and high energy. He'll probably be getting a little bit frustrated with the lack of minutes, but you know, it's just good to know, again, he's got that intensity, he's got that ability to play, you know, in a bunch of different positions. He brings on those speed, you know, the speed against the tired forwards at the back end of the game. So he does a job for us. I just hope he's patient enough playing the role that he's playing at the moment, because I'm sure he probably wants to start. Dylan Walker, mate, what an impact he had, you know, after 3 weeks out with a toe where he probably wasn't able to run a lot, just come out and hit the ground so hard and so fast and made such a big impact. Outstanding, and just shows we've got to keep him fit for the rest of the season. I just pray that we can get Jazz back as well, because I just, you know, you remember that 1-2 punch they had together with the same level of speed and intensity was outstanding. But yeah, his distribution, the way he hits the line for a guy who's not huge, the way he tackles for a guy who's not huge, one of the best bench players in the comp for me. You know, from my personal perspective, even though I'm biased, I think you want to consider him for New South Wales 14, but I'm glad they don't, because we want to keep him with us throughout the rest of the year. So outstanding from a man. I hope he keeps safe. Ali, 17 minutes there. You know, I gave him 6 purely because he didn't have a lot of time, but didn't do anything wrong. Solid as ever. Energy, his hits, his runs, all you could want from a bench prop. So, you know, overall in summary, we thought this could have been a banana skin game, but the boys just showed us that they're not the ones going in there thinking about, you know, what could happen. They're just so focused, so clinical. A little bit scrappy in the first half there, probably as a result of the competition we were playing, but in the second half, when they really focused, got better on their tackle or the fifth play options, we destroyed them. Some of the most fluid attack I've seen from the Warriors in such a long time. We've always been held to skelter, but our ability to create opportunities in structured ways, you know, that set play for Shaun Johnson's try was just absolute money. So I'm excited about the progression we've made every week. It's a shame Latrell's out this weekend, because I really wanted to test ourselves up against a genuine grand final contender there with 2 of the best players in the comp with Latrell and Cody, but we will have Cody out there from all accounts. This for me is a real test. We've got that home ground advantage. We've got to defend our fortress. I don't care how we do this, but we've just got to get that win, and we've got to prove that we can beat any team in this comp on our day. 2 points this week. I'm really, really happy. No bananas. Next week, 2 more. And it's time to start to get excited, people. Solidify ourselves in that top 4. And let's stay there for the rest of the season. This is one happy Warriorholic. See you guys next week.